Yeah, I want to remind everybody that you can experience Cleveland Charge basketball at Public Hall this season. Cleveland Charge, the NBA G League affiliate for the Cavaliers, are back in action for their 5th season in Cleveland. Charge alumni like Sam Merrill and Naquan Tomlin and two-way players like Tristan Anaruma show the NBA G League is the home of future stars of the NBA. Get ready. Oh, sorry, the ad fell. Get ready for a magical night as Public Hall transforms into Hogwarts. It's Harry Potter Night, presented by Nuovo on Friday, March 13th at 7. For the first 1,500 fans, receive a Charge scarf. Tickets are on sale now at clevelandcharge.com. It's Harry Potter Night, guys, this Friday. Go check it out.
I'll be there too, so if you go, come say what's up. Let's talk a little Browns football, though, guys. 2 more moves on the offensive line. 1 signing, 1 re-signing. Teven Jenkins back in the fold. We still haven't gotten the numbers on the Teven Jenkins signing. Zach, maybe you've heard anything on the down low about what that is. But Teven Jenkins is back. And then Elgton Jenkins, not related. We got a lot of questions. Is that his brother? The answer is no, not his brother. But he is a former 2-time All-Pro interior offensive lineman. He signed a 2-year, $24 million deal. $20 million of that guaranteed. Zach, let's start with Elgton first, then get to Teven. But the Elgton Jenkins signing, I'm a big fan. Are you?
When he's been healthy, he's been good. The Packers moved on because he's not healthy, and he's 30 now. So this is a lot of money for a 30-year-old offensive lineman a week after you gave a lot of money to a 30-year-old offensive lineman in the commitment to Titus Howard. So this is where the Browns are. Right? This is what they had to do. From that standpoint, it's unsurprising. It's necessary. I think if you look at it like the Browns had to do this, we're worried mostly about the Browns, and whatever happens at quarterback, at wide receiver, and filling out the rest of the offense, they need an offensive line to have a chance. It's fine. I don't see them getting really any better from this because a bunch of 30-year-old linemen are walking out the door, which is why you're in this spot. Here's my main takeaway, guys. Drafting Zach Zinter cost this team between $30 and $50 million.
Yep.
It's pretty jarring.
Yep. Dustin, thoughts on Elgton Jenkins?
He's one of the most versatile guys you're going to find because he can play like pretty much every position on the offensive line. I think that's important. That's ultimately I think why he's here is because he's a guy that you can trust to play center, guard, or tackle if he needs to at times in a pinch, right? So that's about all I know. He's old. The contract is what, 2 years?
224, 20 games.
So 224. So I don't know. You're not locked into this guy forever. It's 2 years. They're still going to draft somebody, I'm sure, in one of the early selections. But I don't know a ton about this guy. I'm not going to say anything crazy about him, but he can play a lot of positions.
I think on the money part, it's important to say this. It's an overpay across the board.
Everyone gets overpaid in free agency.
But it's what you have to do.
Yes.
Right? It's what you pay, and it's what you have to do at this spot. So you're looking at pedigree, what these guys have done. This guy's been in the Pro Bowl twice. As you said, he's played different positions when he's needed to, been called upon, and you're going to need that going forward. So very fluid situation. I think Zion Johnson made a lot of sense. Right, make a commitment to a first-round pedigree. Still 26. He's played as athletic and has only missed 2 games in his career.
Yeah.
So now you get into the older guys. It's risky. You still had to make commitments to them, but it's what you had to do. So again, we'll see where it goes. But in terms of just sensible using money to fill holes that you created, then they're on that track, and we're waiting to see what happens in the receiver room and the quarterback room.
I think it's important too to note that they're trying to fix the middle of the line too. I think that's an area where Shedeur does no quarterback doesn't, including Shedeur, who is a pocket passer. Right, you don't want pressure up the middle. It makes things very very challenging for a guy who wants to be able to sit back there and diagnose. And you have to move, and he can move a little bit, but he's not the most mobile guy in the world. So it's important for them to do that. I think that they're doing that. And we'll see what happens on the outside of tackle.
Yeah, I think using March resources interior makes sense.
Yes.
Drafting your tackles. And then you have experienced guys who have seen a lot, played in big games, who are going to help basically your 21-year-old tackle or tackles. Because it's still not out of the realm that 2 of these top 40 picks are used on offensive tackles.
No, I wouldn't hate that.
I think this takes guard out of the equation, right?
Yes,
they're not going to take the Penn State kid.
Right.
But I think, at 6 or a trade down, and again at 24 or 40 or 39, then you're probably taking tackles.
I think the thing to think about here too with these guys that are signing who we've never heard of, a lot of people have never heard of this guy, is that I hope we're only talking about this guy today. And that's it. Like that they solve it and then they're pretty quiet because they're playing center and guard and the season goes by and you're not having to say, oh my God, we have no answer at right guard and now our center's hurt and we can't find this. It's like I just hope these guys durability. Jenkins, what's his name? Tyus Jenkins?
Teven Jenkins.
Excuse me. he's a durable player, so hopefully these guys can stay on the field and do a hell of a job. I mean, this kid, Elgton Jenkins.
Yeah.
I want to say Elton John. Elgton Jenkins is, they say, I've not studied this guy, but they say he's best at pass protection from the guard position, which is what we need.
Yeah, center last year, but mostly guard
yeah.
and some tackle before that.
Yeah, so when you look at his overall career, and I'm not going to pretend to be an offensive line.
Right,
I told you, I played 1 year of football in my life. I played left tackle. I got pancaked.
How'd that go?
It was second grade. I blocked for Noshawn Moreno and Donald Brown, 2 former NFL running backs, and they ran away from me every time because I got pancaked every time. I'm not going to pretend to be an offensive line guru, but I know enough people online who have opinions I trust on offensive line to come in today with a little bit of insight on Elgton Jenkins. All pro, not just Pro Bowl, but all pro caliber guard, multiple occasions in Green Bay. Was that highly thought of as a guard? Got moved to center out of necessity. Last year, play took a step back, then suffers a fractured leg. He failed his physical last week in Green Bay, which is important to notice. He did break his leg last season. That's what ended the season. Failed the physical, but if Andrew Berry felt comfortable giving him $20 million guaranteed over 2 years, to me that says the Cleveland doctors have signed off that he's going to be able to progress, be ready for the season. So I'm just going to trust the doctors in Berea. I have no inside insight. I do know with Elgton Jenkins, in 7 NFL seasons, he's given up 9 sacks. That's it. 9. You can count on 2 hands. You don't need your toes.
It's crazy.
How many sacks from the interior did the Browns allow last year?
9 per game.
It feels like I need 2 hands, 2 feet,
Right.
Zach's 2 hands, Zach's 2 feet,
Right.
Anthony, Steve, and Dustin to get in there. That's an upgrade. Yeah. Whether you play him at guard, whether you play him at center, I think it gives you versatility now. Zion Johnson is only playing guard. Teven Jenkins has played both guard and tackle. Elgton Jenkins has played center and guard. Titus Howard has played right tackle, left guard, right guard. He's even had a few snaps at center at some point. Luke Whippler, I'm not sure what his status is moving forward, his recovery from injury. But Andrew Berry now has put together an offensive line that you can mix and match to get your best 5 on the field. And most importantly, and I guess this is my grand conclusion to all this, since Andrew Berry's been the general manager of the Browns, there has not been a worse drafter of offensive linemen in football. They have 0 starting caliber offensive linemen that they've drafted themselves in 6 years under Andrew Berry. Maybe the worst of all time.
Yeah.
So if you can't draft them, go out and sign them like they did. And I cannot applaud Andrew Berry enough for addressing a need in his own assessment process.
Yeah.
I can't figure out who's going to be a successful lineman in the draft. Let me go pay and overpay because you have to for these guys.
Yeah.
Bring them in and solidify the second most important position on the football field.
Well, this is what this organization loves, to be applauded for doing what they have to do, because they have this pile of money and nothing but holes that they've created. Not drafting an offensive lineman last year, knowing this was coming, was absolute malpractice.
Egregious.
And that's why they're spending these piles of money on older linemen. That being said, Elgton Jenkins at center, the other Jenkins at guard, Zion Johnson at guard, you've upgraded.
Absolutely.
Right? Titus Howard
Absolutely.
at right tackle, you've upgraded. So you still have options with guys you're bringing back. DeJuan Jones is under contract for 1 more year. Luke Whippler's under contract for 1 more year. He's probably a backup center, right? That's where his value is. You have Leviston, who's under contract for 2 more years, who could potentially move inside, can continue to develop. You had 2 more tackles. You look for another utility offensive lineman down the road. Now your group, at least on paper, is much better. You have to develop that group. You have to get that cohesion. But I think that if you want to look at it a positive, Mike, like, we're not worried so much about who the 5 are right now, because 17 games is a long time. But when you say from a week ago, if you had to play a game, what's your 5
Who are you
versus the
looking at?
5 right now?
Yeah.
It's
Significantly better.
upgraded
Yeah.
100 times.
Yeah.
And I made that
But
graphic.
again, it's simple stuff, and they want applauded for
Yeah.
it. You can't
Well,
do that.
Right. They're doing what they did is what
doing
good.
what they had to do.
Well, and don't you think they're doing what like most good teams do? Is like, this is how you rebuild your offensive line if it's that poor. I think it's tough.
I would disagree. I would say most teams build it through the draft.
Well, the Browns can't draft
This
offensive
is
line.
what
They don't know
Houston
how.
has done.
They don't
Houston
know how.
gave Cam Robinson $12 million last year. He immediately got benched. They shipped him to the Browns.
Yes.
They need to get younger this year. What do? They ship Titus Howard out. The Browns say, we'll take him. We'll extend him.
They did sign Braden Smith, who's not a
Right.
young chicken either.
And this is not just to Browns fans. This
Yeah.
is what fans do. They see a guy get acquired in March, and they immediately say, he's better. He's so much better. We're off and racing. Well, why is that team getting rid of him?
And it's
Why
fair.
are the Chargers,
It
who
is fair.
came in with top 10 in cap space, not re-signing a 26-year-old guard?
You got to wonder.
all that stuff is fair. I also know the Browns' offensive line in Week 18 of last season was an absolute atrocity.
Comically bad. And it gave Shedeur no chance over the last
And today, and you can see the difference. That's the Week 18 starting offensive line for the Browns versus the projected, and I put a rookie at left tackle just because I'm assuming that'll be a rookie at this point.
Yes.
It is a night and day upgrade. Is it great? We'll find out. Will these guys be able to stay healthy? They all individually have their concerns. We were talking about Zion Johnson. I got a buddy who works for NFL Research who's a Chargers fan who said the dude hasn't blocked a single stunt in 4 years with the Chargers. Like, he has his concerns. Teven Jenkins, even when he played last year, wasn't stellar. Elgton Jenkins wasn't as good at center as he was at left guard. Coming off, they all have concerns. Titus Howard's old. Like, they all have concerns,
Right.
but it is a major upgrade. And when I look at free agency, Zach, there are certain positions I think make sense to spend money in free agency at. And it's interior offensive linemen, linebackers, and safeties. You can get pretty good players. You're going to have to overpay because that's the free agent tax you pay. Mm-hmm. But you can get those guys without completely breaking the bank like you did for an Alec Pierce.
Sure.
$30 million
It's
a year
just much cheaper to draft him in rounds 3 through 5.
And I'm not letting Andrew Berry off the hook for that. I mean when I say I think he might be the worst offensive lineman drafter in the history of the NFL. 0 starting offensive linemen in 6 drafts is unfathomable considering.
Yeah, I
there's
mean, I
5
think
different
DeJuan has been a
positions.
starting quality player, but he's ended all
Hasn't
3
been
of
able
his
to help it,
seasons
yeah.
on IR.
And Jed Wills did start, but that was a top 10 pick that he wasn't top 10 pick.
who at his best
Yeah.
was a league average player.
But look what the Bears did last year. And I'm not saying that it's completely apples to apples, but they needed to revamp their offensive line.
Sure.
They drafted Ozzie Trapula, who turned out to be a really good left tackle. Traded for Tooney, signed Dahlman. Dahlman's now retired. But that offensive line turned around like that.
Yeah,
And
I
it
would
partly
caution you to say that the tackle did not start playing until week 8 because it's hard for 21-year-olds to come in this league.
But
But again, that's why
that's the formula.
That's
at
how
least.
you can justify
Yes.
adding the experience and the money you have to pay for interior because they're going to have to bring them along. They're going to have to coach them up, right? Like I don't care if it's Freeling, I don't care if it's Fano and you're moving him back to the left. I don't care if it's receiver then Caleb Williams. Like these guys are young. And it's going to be a huge adjustment, and you're drafting a left tackle. So you're not really asking him to be Joe Thomas, certainly not right away. You're asking him to be better than Jed Wills over time, but you're taking a risk when you're putting a left tackle
100%. 100%.
a rookie left tackle.
I'm just laughing because you called him Elgin again.
I did?
You're going to call him 7 different names.
Yeah, Nate, listen.
You're not.
Names
listen,
are not my thing.
You have strengths
Yes.
and weaknesses.
Yes.
This is not a strength.
I'm going to draw up something on the telestrator when
You've got that's a strength.
Strength.
Yeah.
Names, pronunciation,
Not
spelling,
a
Spanish
strength.
accents, not a strength.
I would say weakness.
Absolutely be a pro and a con. That's a con. That is not on the Mike Lucas scouting report. Dustin, when you look at what the Bears did last year
Yeah.
and how they were able to turn the offensive line around, and knowing the Browns had money to spend,
Mm-hmm.
they've only invested in the offensive line thus far. Do you think it's been the right approach for Andrew Berry and this team in free agency
it's
through the 2 days that we can actually evaluate?
It's been the right approach because the offensive line was so bad last year. You had no choice. If you're going to give Shedeur any chance to show that he's got something, they got to give him a chance to have some protection, right? Now, the Bears also were trying to protect their prized possession, which is their stud quarterback, and we saw what a difference that made. I mean, they protected him, and all of a sudden, he could ball. And I don't know that our quarterback's going to be like Caleb, but we'll see. We'll see. At least they're doing the best they can because it was so bad. And, Petonio's going to retire. And, that guy's been playing for 27 years. And we'll talk about if he's going to go to the Hall of Fame and all that stuff.
Right.
But you got to replace. I mean, in the last, 5 or so years, you're going to have to replace 2 potential Hall of Famers on the offensive line. And the team still hasn't won a damn anything in the postseason. So
money's money, and the Browns spend it like it doesn't matter.
They don't care.
What this comes down to is if we get decent play and decent leadership, and one of these guys is a slightly above average starter at his position, whatever that ends up being for 2 years, then it's kind of graded as a hit.
I would say that like left tackle is the toughest spot to play on the offensive line. You can make arguments that center is very important, but if you're drafting a rookie and you're going to have him start there, you hit on it. Like those veterans can help that kid develop. If you need him to be a starter from day one, I mean, think about Joel Bitonio came in with Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
And got to learn from that dude every day.
Every snap of his first 4 years was with Joe Thomas
Next to him.
until midseason.
Yeah.
For the first 3.5 years. You know how many left tackles played after that? How many other guys he played next to?
I don't know, 17.
In Joel's career.
If the line
It's a decent guess.
Do you know the number?
I do know the number.
If the line was set at
sorry.
12 and a half, I take the over.
And you'd be right. There were 15. One of them was Bitonio himself. So over the last 9 years of his career, assuming he's done, he played next to 14 different left tackles. And it's a wide variety. It's high draft picks. It's low draft picks. It's Greg Robinson, who went to prison. It's Desmond Harrison, who was here for 6 weeks.
Went to prison.
Right? It's Spencer Drango was first up when Joe went down and they went to Europe. Like, it's a long list.
Nuts.
I mean, just the playoff year, it was 3 guys.
Are we sure, by the way, Elgton, said it right?
Elgton
Jenkins.
Yeah, just the G is silent.
Is going to play center?
We're not sure. No. Because Teven Jenkins could be brought back to be the 6th offensive lineman. And then the center could be either Whippler or a draft pick.
Okay.
So we're not sure on that. When you study what he did in Green Bay, his best years were at guard. But he thought that he could raise his value, knowing he wanted more guarantees from the Packers that they weren't willing to give him by going to center. Again, Packers had all sorts of guys that they had to move around because they kept having injuries, and they lost him in November. And the line was never the same after that. So this guy has been a good player.
Yeah.
He's just got to be healthy, and the Packers were ready to move on. A year they're trying to win the Super Bowl, and a year after they had a mess with injuries, it just kind of says, why wouldn't
Well, and he failed his physical in Green Bay.
Well, yeah, I would say that about this, though. That is a way out. He's coming off an injury they knew he wasn't. They can avoid the contract with
There
that. You're right. The Browns aren't bringing him in without insurance that he's right on track, but that's Green Bay's way out. I don't think it goes on the transaction sheet as waived failed physical, but I don't think it was like, oh my gosh, he's not healthy. I think for months they knew this is our out.
Later in the show, we're going to talk about Max Crosby's failed physical and the ramifications and ripple effects of that deal. Last thing on the offensive line, before we move on and talk Bitonio, because he obviously is not a name we've mentioned as a possible offensive lineman for the Browns next year. And Dustin, when you look at whether it's Jenkins and Johnson, I had a point. I've got a point to go back. Jason has sat in this chair and told us when DeJuan Jones was starting out at right tackle and then at left tackle, Bitonio and Teller were kind of helping him literally each and every play with the assignments. Having a guy like Zion Johnson and a Jenkins and a Titus Howard on the opposite has to be as good of a
I played next to
mentorship as
Mike
possible.
Doss for my first 2 years at Ohio State. And I had no business probably being a starting cornerback in the Big Ten as a freshman and as a sophomore. And that dude told me everything I needed to know before every play. Made me look good. Made me look good. And it also gave me confidence too, because I knew this guy had my back and he was going to he'd make me right. And so I think that's such a great point with these veterans on that offensive line to put them next to the young guy, because it's not like you're babysitting him, but you're kind of right there.
Yeah.
You're kind of holding his hand a little bit.
And it has to help with a young quarterback too, just having that much experience in front of you to help make some of the offensive line calls. And just not saying that one of the Browns quarterbacks can't do that.
Yeah.
Just takes part of the responsibility off their shoulders.
I think it's both hilarious and telling that you said I have no idea what the answer is for the number of left tackles, but I'll confidently say it's over 12 and a half, and it was over 12 and a half. So that's what it is. So much of offensive line is communication and cohesion, right? Like the best lines are usually the ones that stay together. And the Browns in this window, they had this group stay together. It just happened to all get old and all their contracts expired at the same time, and they somehow didn't draft one last year. So they're counting on these guys. Really the worst thing they did was think that last year's left tackle plan, DeJuan Jones and Cornelius Lucas, had any chance at all. Right? Like gambling on these guys you've already invested in, just staying healthy for one more season, you kind of had to do that. But you could have done more at left tackle. Yeah. So this year we're assuming that pick 6 or a trade down is going to be used on a left tackle, and that guy's going to be counted on to be your left tackle for 5 years minimum.
Are we officially writing the book on Zach Zinter, that there's no salvaging the former third-round pick's career?
I think that they've shown that by bringing back a guy that played in front of him, even in the season finale last year, which was an evaluation game, and the money they've spent on older players who could all play that position. I think that they've answered that for us.